Welcome to Heal Talk. Growth isn't just about what you built this year, it's about what you released, what you outgrew, and who you became in the process. In this Heal Talk episode of Who's Helping You Heal, three entrepreneurs reflect on a year shaped by risk, faith, creativity, and transformation. Not just business growth, but personal growth. Not just success, but self-trust. This is Growth of the Year. Let's get it. All right, welcome back. We are here towards the end of this year, and 2025 has been a real one. And I can say that just personally, I can say that also just from a worldview lens. So what I wanted to do, I had a session set up today, but we wanted to flip the script. And obviously I have two folks from the Healing Squad, Mr. Easy Equity and Bryan, in the building with us after a big Chicago Bears win. I got to say it. I'm going to chop this in a short too, just so we say it, bear down.
Of course.
But beyond that, of course, I wanted to bring a different topic to my folks in the room. And I wanted to speak about growth. So here's one to think about. Growth of the year, almost like an award to yourself, growth of the year. Reflecting on love, healing, and transformation. And I know us three in general, because of the things that we do in the work and the entrepreneurial life we live in our different sectors, we've been through a lot of transformation this year. So I wanted to open it up to the space. Here's the thoughts. First question off the bat, I want to throw out there: what was a significant lesson you learned about yourself or your relationships for this year of 2025? Whoever wants to go first, let's go.
There's so I'm gonna take it in a couple of places. I think for me, I know for me, the growth of the year is transitioning from working for an organization to working for myself. So it's been literally about 6 months now. Um, and that lesson is I am him. Too often I was trying to fit in to somewhere that tried to shrink me, and I tried to match that mold but never felt comfortable in it. And I gotten to a point where I knew I was going to transition, and God just said, your transition is now, not when you're comfortable. And so when I say I am him, is I say that with confidence, but not without being scared. And I still am scared. And so I've been through some fire. I've been through some trials and tribulations. I talked to Coach many times. He's talked me off the ledge and took me on several walks, and just really recognizing what lies inside of me. And that's not only is it enough, it's more than enough. So I say the lesson I learned is just to like trust in me, trust in God, and walk your walk.
Yeah, trusting in God is definitely a big one. Uh, I also started my entrepreneur journey this year, and there was a lot of praying. There was a lot of praying. I'm pretty sure every other day I was praying like, God, please let this money look right. Let these things come through. Let this go off well. Uh, a big lesson I learned this year because I started my own clothing brand called Trade Apparel, and I also started my own uh, virtual law firm. This year, I definitely put more time into my clothing brand, and that's probably what has been getting a lot more notoriety. And the big thing was I learned was that you can't take everybody with you, right? Sometimes the entrepreneur journey it can be lonely, especially when you don't have the right group of friends, you don't have the right support system. You will leave them behind because just being an entrepreneur takes so much of your time and energy that when somebody isn't serving you, you won't hang out with them anymore. You won't hang out with people that don't pour into you because you need so much love from people that that are there for you, that support you, that when someone's not doing that, you instinctively will distance yourself from them and they will be left behind in 2025.
I love that, y'all. Like y'all, I obviously been on my own journey as well, and I'm a little past. I'm saying I think I'm almost hitting my 2 year mark of doing this, and I think this year was a really a lesson of patience and allowing myself to hurry up and wait. There's a little bit of hurry your ass up. Oh, wait, hurry up your ass up and wait. It was a lot of like that pieces, but then I think of like putting things in place that I didn't know I was putting in place when I was actually just doing movements, right? I mean, I met y'all, you two, in the beginning of this year, middle maybe, right? And look at that, right? We're having beautiful conversations. We support each other as a Black and Brown community, which is so important to me, and we don't hold any judgment in our space, and we are definitely not divisive. We really roll, and I love that about us. And I think when I think of the journey per se. And Bryan, you kind of spoke to it, kind of like people who might not be aligned with that, or maybe your dreams are too big for them, so they're not in that ecosystem no more with you. So wanted to just, this is not a question that I gave y'all earlier, but just thinking in this way, we know that there's some freeing parts of being an entrepreneur, whether that's creativity, right? No one ain't ruling your schedule. That's one of the biggest things for me. You don't have to like oblige to any kind of structure. It's your structure, right? You have to discipline yourself to that structure. But in terms of the things that might not be as so freeing, that might be more capturing, it's almost captive, like getting you as a captive in that space. What are y'all feeling those things are in terms of what you felt were freeing and what was capturing you in the space of entrepreneurialism?
I think for me, like my creativity took off. Sometimes I felt like I had to fight people to show good work or to do good work. And now it's just like I was able to catch a lot of momentum. Like, oh, I created this. I want to do this. I created this. And I would say for the first couple of months, I was creating so much. I was like, all right, Mike, you got to have a rhyme and reason with what you create. And just can't just be creating just to create. And also, like when you work for an organization for over 22 years, there's some detoxing that you have to do. And so as I was detoxing, I think Coach Adam, we had a couple of walks. You helped me realize all the things I had going for me when I really couldn't see it. And so that led me to writing my second book, Villains in Special Education, The Uncomfortable Truth. So like that, being able to put time towards a project and go all in and not be distracted with those things, that was freeing. Being able to be me 100% of the time and do what I want to do 100% of the time is liberating. The thing that isn't what I didn't realize is when you work for yourself, you work harder. And there's like literally no days off. Like we're this is work for us in a sense, even though we're enjoying each other's company. But like the if I don't bring in no money, no money comes in. It's no hourly kind of consistent paycheck. So you literally get out what you put in. And so for me, I think it's for all of us, we're constantly putting in. So it's 7 days a week that I'm working on my business or working on me so my business can be more successful.
I definitely agree. And I really want to add to what Mike was saying about creativity. The biggest thing is when you start your own business, you have your own brand, is identity. Identity is such a liberating concept when it comes to your work and your creativity, because you literally have the opportunity as an entrepreneur to tell the world who you are. You can tell the world who you are, what you do, why you do it. And then the limiting aspect of that is, will the world buy it? You know, uh, there's a lot of stories and stuff about people creating movies and books. that the world at that time did not like nor buy into. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, it really hurts if you end up being one of those stories. And now you're in a history book somewhere saying, oh, this company did this 10 years ago. Well, we weren't ready to see that. But now that 10 years have passed, he would have been a millionaire today. And you're just like, well, that's great. Um, the thing that can be restrictive is kind of the harsh reality of the world that you're in. When you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have to serve the world where it is now.
Ooh, facts.
And that is probably the only thing limiting your creativity. You know, they say think big. A big reason they tell people to think bigger and think larger is because depending on what situation in life you're in or where in the world you're in, it is malleable. When you don't think that big, you can't really change it to what other people can't really latch onto it because it's so narrow. So that's my 2 cents.
I wanted to add a couple of things to what you were saying, Brian. When I am, will the world accept it? And being an entrepreneur and what I learned this year is like it takes courage and vulnerability to put yourself out there. I think outside looking in, before I wrote any book, it seemed easy and people just can say stuff and you do stuff and it's like it's just it looks super easy, but my books are attached to me. And so people are going to judge me based upon what I put out. And easy equity is all about pouring into yourself and self-love and how to transform. And it's everything I believe in. And villains and special education is about calling out all the things that cause harm. So it's an uncomfortable truth in a way that it's going to press people's buttons if you have caused harm to kids. And I like to me in education, all educators have. So this is like a way of holding up the mirror. But when people don't want to hold up the mirror, they will bite back. And so I've gotten comments, I've gotten different things, and I'm just like, whoa, that's not me. And I was like, whoa, that's not for me to carry either. But putting yourself out there, it's a courageous act, and I don't unless you're an entrepreneur or you're doing something for the public in that kind of service, you don't know how brave you have to be and how much courage it takes and how much vulnerability that you're in a sense going to be putting yourself out there for the world to see. And it's like Brian said, like, will they accept it or not? And you have to love yourself enough to say if you don't accept it, it's still the right thing.
All right, Brian, I thought you were gonna jump back in. I was like, let me hold off. Because I probably felt like you could resonate with that, but I'll jump in real quick.
Okay.
I think for me that identity piece and putting yourself out there is that's spot on. When I first started my channel, and even to this day, we pump out a lot of great material, and it was all about like offering free therapy to all, but specifically to Black and brown folks. And that's why representation is real when all the speakers, right, look like those folks, right? And I can tell you a lot of times people left comments like, y'all a bunch of sissies, y'all ain't hard enough. What is this? Y'all don't know what the hell you talking about. Y'all don't know what healing is about. Even though like I bring therapists who know they shit. Like they know they stuff. And they'll be like, that therapist don't know what they talking about. How can my child at this age know this and that? Like, and I look at those things and man, the west side of Chicago and me want to react, right? And then I go to what you said, Mike. Like I can't carry that weight. Like, uh, I some I decide to respond to because I pick my battles, and I tend to go with more of the intelligence route. And whatever serves me in that moment, that's how I kind of release that. So when I think of that one, I think of those comments that I've gotten. Maybe some of the people in my life who saw me in a different light, right? And this is a different field. Same gift, different field, right? That are like, what are you doing there? Like, Was he was a coach? Like, hey, what's Mr. Adam doing coaching? He don't coach, he camps directs. That's what he does, right? And it's almost like what people perceive you to be, and you're like, no, this is where I'm going. And I think the more that I got that like resistance from certain folks, the more Mr. Who's Helping You Heal was coming out like a motherfucker. Like it was just like, oh yeah, well here's another video. Okay, here's another one. Oh, you thought that wasn't facts? Well, here, let me throw this at you. Oh, you don't like this person? Here's two more that look just like them. It was one of those things where I was like almost battling with it and then realizing that I was carrying it a little bit, Michael, in that way. And then I was like, all right, I gotta step back. This is a hobby. It's not like it's a hobby passion, the YouTube stuff and doing videos and doing these segments, right? And it doesn't hold to the value and the commitment and the importance to my family and my household, right? Because it's so outside of that safe haven. Then I think of like the ecosystem we live in, and then we move into this entrepreneur ecosystem. And a big part of that ecosystem is figuring out what work looks like in that ecosystem because you can't do what it looked like in the other one, right? The other one was 8 hours. You punch in, you had a break at 12, you knew some shit, you knew exactly where to go, very sheeple like. Right. And then you got this entrepreneur, and that's, I think, the creative is definitely the freeing part. I agree with both of y'all. And the capturing part is also the fucking creative because I get mad creative with it. And then on the other side, I don't have the money to fulfill a lot of that creativeness as an entrepreneur, right? Because as an entrepreneur, we deal with contracts, not hours and exact money that's going to come in for sure, unless those contracts are secured, right? It's like, I have this contract secured now. I got about 3 months here. It's set in there, right? But what I'm saying is in that ecosystem that I had to learn, like what you said earlier, Mike, when we do this, we enjoy it, but it's work for me, right? And I had to identify my recording as part of my work, right? It's part of my message work. It's part of my brand work, right? It's part of the Mr. Who's Helping You Heal. But I have to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate a little bit of this new ecosystem. Because, sometimes I'll find myself just chilling and be like, damn, I'm not just chilling. And to me, that's that old ass ecosystem saying, hey, you ain't sheepling. You chilling, you ain't sheepling, right? It's basically calling me out that I ain't being a sheeple in that space. I'm not doing what you should be doing. When now in this entrepreneur space, it's all new land. It's whatever I want to do, and that's the freeing part for me. Is where I can say, tomorrow I'm going to meet about 5 clients, right? I know how much that cost for me mentally and physically, but I know financially how much I make in that, right? And I want to be able to do that without anybody behind me. I want to do it in my comforts in my own home, unless I decide to meet you somewhere, right? Either what I'm saying, everything I'm saying in that is I decide. I fucking decide. I'm gonna stay in that space, and that is the most best space for me as a fire sign because I'm an Aries, right? I'm a proper Aries, so fire all the way and fire all day, and it gets me to a space where I knew that I can't survive in toxic ecosystems, and what I realize is that no matter where I go in this ecosystem of 9 to 5, it's all toxic. So where am I gonna go? And that's the land of creativity. That sometimes I do get sidetracked because my creativity takes me to different places. But at the end of the day, I am able to do it myself, right? I decide where I'm going. I decide how I build my contracts. I decide who I'm building with. And if I'm a build with you, we're fully aligned. Where when I'm taking a job, I'm just trying to like ask you for a job, maybe semi begging on the front end politely and professionally, and then gambling where I get it after 5 interviews. And then you don't get the shit, right? And that was that ecosystem that always reminds me of like, you in the right place. All right. And everything I'm learning here is how to manage what that looks like. And in my second year, I feel like it's becoming more clear. The clouds are parting a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I see the sun now. I see how I structure this and I see how it falls in place. Where maybe, excuse me, the first 8 months, man, I was straight Stevie Wonder. I was feeling. I was like, where we going with? I honestly I couldn't see like for nothing. And I'm a visualizer. I'm strategic. I tend to see things ahead, and that was blind too. So I land my plane. Any thoughts, feelings?
A big thought. So when you mentioned talking about social media, I think it's crazy. Like when you're an entrepreneur, how much social media can like really just like warp your mind about how you think of yourself. And especially when sometimes, posting on social media, what I've learned is that your first op would be the algorithm of the social media. You first got to overcome the algorithm to reach people. And then when you reach people, you got people in your comments telling you, oh, this person's a hack. This person, blah, 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 blah. So then you get the hate comments, and then you keep going, and then all of a sudden, here come you've made it to the promised land. Here are the people that love you. So, and it's just like that journey can be so exhausting as an entrepreneur because as social media changes and stuff, you're going through the waves of who's seeing your content, what's going on. And if people don't love you in social media, it's not real. People love you in your community, people love you in your life. Just because people don't love you on social media doesn't mean you're not successful. And I think people really confuse that. So
Brian, I feel that there's I feel like I got caught up in if I only get these certain amount of views, then I'm successful. And then I started to look at some of my campaigns and things like that for some of my books, and social media hasn't produced a lot of sales for me. When I network with people, that produces sales for me. And so I had to like disassociate from social media. I still do it because it's a good way to get out there to be seen and things like that. But the real work is human connection. It still is. I think it always kind of will be because when I'm out I do a whole bunch of coffee chats. Like that's my how I produce leads and things like that. And when people can feel my energy face to face, it invites a different response versus they hearing a short or even a video from me and things like that. They don't always get to know my spirit and my heart. Um, and people buy from people that they feel comfortable with. I don't know how comfortable people will feel with me on social media. The other thing, kind of like what Coach was saying, and my girl told me this, and she's like, I think 2025 was a year where you're just trying a whole bunch of things out. And I was just like, yeah, like even with social media, what's my rhythm? What's my post? I'm here, I'm there, I'm kind of all over the place. And I was just like, Mike, dang, you doing too much. And then I was like, that's fine. You're out there being vulnerable, trying things. Now you know um what lane or lanes you want to go in. You've grown. You know what to do, you know what not to do. You're still making mistakes, but you're like more than anything, give yourself credit because you're still moving forward. Um, and I was like, I can't wait for 2026 because 2025 was rough. I was like, 2025 needed to happen so I could be the person that I need to be for 2026. And I'm excited about a lot of changes that I really got coming up to be more strategic and streamlined and things like that.
I love that, Michael. And I think, when you're saying you're all over the place, I think that's what I was speaking to of the like figuring out our work in our ecosystem and how it lands, right? And that was me like all over, like, all right, I got to do this and keeping up. And not one video has per se brought me some great business from my coaching thing. But if you look at my platform, I share my platform with a lot of folks, right? So I realized that angle, the YouTube angle, wasn't never about like me per se. It was about the collective movement, right? And that movement kept my ecosystem busy because once you start meeting with different people and you record, right, it fills up time. And then like you and maybe Bryan, you felt this way too as you were building, you know, it's that old ecosystem coming back and making you feel guilty that you're putting so much time in these things, even though they uplift you and make you feel good. Right? They make you feel like you close in that office space and all that shit, right? And the politics and the people talking and you know you have good news but you don't share it because people don't like good news when you share it, right? Especially in a space where they don't have a lot of good news. And saying that throughout this year there's been mad transformation for different folks in this room, and I know that. And in that space I know there's been healing going on too. You know, we call ourselves the healing squad in many ways because we do a lot of healing. We speak on healing, right? We advocate for it as well. So in terms of healing practices or insights, what would you two bring to 2026 if there was something you learned within your healing or some insights you gained from 2025 in your entrepreneur journey that you're like, I'm gonna bring this over to 2026 and really blow it the fuck up, really do some big things with it because it I missed it half of the year kind of deal, right? I'll leave it there. Give me some thoughts.
So my big one, especially with healing and stuff, and as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that if you hustle 24/7, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. A lot of this year was learning, okay, when does your self-care come in? When do you take care of yourself? You're constantly working, you got ideas. My creativity, I had noticed this when I got kind of probably, I would say around October. And I was like, oh, I gotta start designing new clothes with my clothing company. Because I design it all my stuff myself. Uh I sew the samples, all right? Like I'm really in there, okay? I'm not just sending it to China, all right? I'm actually in there doing it. And I had creative block for most of October because I wasn't giving myself any rest. I wasn't going to sleep so I could dream and think about what I want to do next. And a lot of people don't understand that. The economy's bad. All people can think about is how do I survive? How do I get money? But if you have, as an entrepreneur, you have to give yourself the time to be able to rest and create the next big thing. Because it's not going to happen while you're working.
I love that, Brian, and I think that's to me that's another takeaway of with all the creativity that being working for yourself or being an entrepreneur brings. Like for me, I sometimes I get too creative because I'm always coming up with something new. And so like it's so exciting. I'm not being more as intentional as I need to be with making the main thing the main thing. Um, and when I'm not making the main thing the main thing, I'm constantly creating, which means I'm kind of taking away from myself, similar to what you were saying, Brian. The weird thing is I'm good at coaching people around like easy equity practices, value and validating yourself, slow down, move at the speed of love, and all these other things where I'm kind of up in my own pace of hustle. So like what I want to bring into 2026 is moving from hustle to flow. And when I feel what when I'm in rhythm with myself, I kind of create this, I know I create this flow and the work comes 10 times easier. Because I similar to you, Brian, I had some blocks. I'm just like, I know I need to do this, but I don't even know how. And I'm just like, Mike, you did this for 20 years. You know how to do this. And it like that PowerPoint wouldn't come out. It like if it would have came out, it would probably been a diamond. Like it was. I was so frustrated. 'Cause I'm like, now you don't even know what behavior means. I'm like, no, behavior is communication, da 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 da, and all this other stuff. and I couldn't produce a training, but I ended up talking to Adam's wife, and I she thought I was helping her. I think she helped me get my groove back more than I was helping her. I was stellar in that mug, and I was like, oh shoot, this, oh this you can support with this, and all these things. But I was just giving myself a little bit of air to breathe so I can be um, more creative. And the other thing I will definitely take into 2026, actually two more things, sorry, is want this. These talks helped me and supported me in every single time I needed them. So even though I was giving to the world, um, I was receiving probably more than I was giving. So like Adam, like this whole you in this all who's helping you heal and healing table and all this other stuff is transformative. Not only transformative, but life saving. Because when you're an entrepreneur, I say it for myself, like that bank account associates with my success sometimes, and that bank account is steady going lower, and I'm just like, well, this math ain't mathing. This money ain't transferring on the weekends. Like it's rough sometimes, and that doesn't mean that you stop doing the work. Because you're planting seeds and you're going to harvest a forest. And I can't even remember the other thing I was going to say. It'll come back to me.
All right. Insights. Insights for me is planting seeds so they can propagate. And I planted seeds in 2024, and they started blossoming in 2025. Right. But when I planted them, it's kind of like, you could plant a tree, but you got to wait for it to grow, right? It's not going to grow immediately. And I was planting seeds in 2024 when I first started. Like, these motherfuckers need to grow fast. Like, I wanted urgency to grow. I was putting Miracle Grow on them. They weren't doing nothing. And I was like, damn, what's going on? And what I realized is that that what I was operating was in other people's time, but it was part of that ecosystem again of learning what I'm doing. I'm navigating, I'm interacting with people, I'm sending messages, I'm planting seeds. Some people answer them, some people don't. Don't get offended. Just keep it moving, right? That just was a relationship that didn't meant to connect, right? I reached out to you, Michael. I was like, man, let's build, right? Brian, same thing with you. Same thing with Miss Rosina, same thing with Dr. J. I can go down the line. Same thing with Ruth. Same thing with Growfessor. It was all these people I was reaching out. One, because the vision was happening before I visualized it fully. It was kind of like just happening, right? You were building this thing. So I learned the insight that I got from that was like what I put in place now does truly benefit later on. So really be mindful of what you're putting in place. And if what you expect is going to be a result immediately, give it a little time. Let it grow, right? And that is what I wasn't doing at first. The insight is to allow it to grow because now I'm seeing the fruits of its labor. Um, Healing, man, I think a lot what you said, Michael, is this being able to connect with different people and have these conversations. I ain't gonna lie, selfishly, when I coach and I'm in my bag, like I'm like coaching to the 10th power and I can feel it. I almost feel like I got the damn glow, and I can feel the person knows, they know it. They're like, this guy got the damn glow. He's helping me achieve something. And when they say that, right? Because at the end of my sessions, I always ask the people, did this session support you? Right? Because I need to know that. I need to know that confirmation. I can feel the oohs and ahs in between, but at the end, I need to know, was this a safe ride? And I'm getting a lot of like, hell yeah. If it was Uber, I'm getting all the 5 stars. I'm like, they hooking me up. They're like, bam. And I think that has healed me in so many ways. It's brought me closer to my mom's because my mom's always says that was my gift to help people feel seen, right? To don't give them judgment. She's like, you just so great at that. And so it brings me closer to her. It brings me closer to all my other opportunities that I know are coming that I can't see yet, but I planted seeds in 2025 for, and they're going to populate in 2026. Moving forward, I think of this. I'm gonna bring out one of my pieces here. That's a brain. If you can see it there. Yeah. And a brain's something you learned about yourself during your journey here, right? And one thing I learned about myself was that my gift is actually worth what it's worth. Right? I just didn't think it was. It takes a special person, and y'all know that, to step out of that ecosystem everybody else lives in and say, because you know your gift is worth it and you got something you can sell to people, that you don't need a corporation to back it. The gift backs it. So that's the brain. Anybody want to jump in on the brain?
I really relate to that because I'm also someone who has the gift of vision. And this year has really taught me, like, in 2024, I was telling people, I'm gonna start a clothing brand. And it was like, everyone says that. What are you talking about? Saying you want to start a clothing brand is like saying you want to be a rapper. Everyone's just like, okay. But then once we got to about, I'd say, July, and people was like, okay, I see, my friends on social media, they're looking, there's like, oh, he's cooking up something. And then I kid you not, by the time we get to November, my friends are calling me, they reaching out to me, they see my stuff on social media, and they're like, wow, you said you were going to do something and you did it. And when you have that kind of power, you can't sell it for cheap. You can't underestimate it. You have to keep exercising it, keep strengthening your ability to bring things from manifestation. So yeah, I definitely agree with that, Coach.
I love that, Brian. What I really realize, and with the brain, I'm a visionary as well, and to bring light into this world that's in this day and age is like doesn't have a lot to celebrate. Um, and so what I kind of really realize in social media, in a lot of different places, that I've been able to bring light and give people courage, and to be able to say the thing that needs to be said unapologetically, to give other people permission to say the thing or to be seen or to walk in their truth. And like that's what I've always wanted to do. It's always about service. It's always been about my grandma in walking in her light, in her path, that she said that, hey, she said, Mike, you're meant to help people. You're meant to serve. And like, this is my service. And the other thing I really realized about myself was it was when I was on the call with Growfester and you, Adam, were talking about villains. And I noticed my voice was changing. I was just like, oh, that's not to, I was like, that's strength, that's passion, that's like, I don't give a fuck, um, energy. And like my girl said the same thing. She's like, babe, when you talk about kids with disabilities and harm that's caused, like you're all in all the time. And I'm just like, yeah. And so just kind of recognizing like that's a piece of me I tried to leave behind because I didn't want to be narrowly typecast in a certain position. But then I was like, no, I'm going to be all of me in 2025, and I'm taking that into 2026. And like me knowing that this world needs love, this world needs support, this world needs advocacy, and thinking about those our kids and our people, especially men of color that need to heal, needs advocacy. And so like that's what I'm bringing in 2026. Just more of this, more laser focus, and doing everything that I said I was going to do, similar to what you said, Brian. It's like, yeah, like 2025 was cooking, like y'all about to see the dish in 2026.
And what I like about that is I feel like the test of it is, when you're an entrepreneur, when they say, how bad do you really want it? Do you want it bad enough to go through kind of like this cooking phase? Do you want it bad enough to go through that phase? And that all speaks to passion. If you're passionate about something, this is something you really want to do, you will always have, I feel like you always have that drive to push to the next level.
There we go. All right. Makes me think of the next body part, and we're almost at the end of this segment, y'all. Is the heart. Come on now. Yeah. Yep. And the heart represents, right? It represents something you felt this year that impacted you. But you can also put it in the category of what was your heart joy when you used to live in that old ecosystem, and what is your heart joy in your entrepreneur ecosystem, right? Can be either one of those you want to go with. And I'm going to go with the heart joy of each system. And I'm going to say I didn't like not have any joy in the system of 9 to 5 working, because I did. I impacted a lot of lives. I supported a lot of people. I had fun days. I had days I laughed with staff and things like that. I supervised and supported many great folks who grew and done many great things. But throughout that process, I would say half of it wasn't filled because that half was missing of me, that wanting to do things for myself and that creativeness. So when I pull it over to the entrepreneur side, I honestly feel that shit just filled up, right? What brings it down sometimes is when contracts don't facilitate the way they need to, right? When some of those things that I'm looking forward to very hard, like in a strong way, that they don't happen because of something else is triggering for me later on. And it's that patience game, that inside of patience and bringing it forward. But I do feel like whenever something doesn't happen in a contract way, something else does happen. Like another conversation happens, a connection, a video takes off, whatever it may be. I look at all these as wins within my brand, right? But I think more importantly, what is giving me more joy on the entrepreneur side and why it went up is I really struggle with being told what to do. I don't know what it is. I try really hard to 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 be someone who can listen to people in that way, right? Not that I don't respect authority, because I respect the shit of authority. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm more of a collaborative worker. You tell me something in a wrong tone, it just it changes something so much in my dynamic that it hits me to my spirit. And once it hits the spirit, you done. Right. Like, and that was me in the work world, is that I got put in a lot of those spaces where I was done. And here I'm allowed to not have that, right? Like my workspaces, I think of them like this. This is a workspace for us, right? So do I walk away from this and be like, man, how the hell did I meet with those two? Hell no, I'm usually uplifted, right? So heart is full on this side because of so many different reasons. I'll land my plane. Who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. I've had similar experiences, Adam, especially so when I was in the work systems and working 9 to 5, what brought me joy was doing good work, especially as a lawyer, because we're perfectionists, right? So doing good work and then having our clients be happy. That is what brought so much joy to me when I was working my 9 to 5. And what I realized, what the problems I would have with people were never related with the work. It was never related to the job I was there to do. My problems with people were because they saw potential and they were threatened by my potential. And being young in work environments and talking, I have a lot of professional friends where this is like, especially you in your 20 somethings and you got a doctor's degree and you're in a space and all the white people looking at you like, how did you get here? Why are you here? Who do you think you are? That those are good signs that maybe you need to, whatever brought you joy from that 9 to 5 can also bring you joy in your entrepreneurship, because you are clearly talented, you are clearly What's holding you back is the environment you're in, and you just need to create your own environment for you to succeed. And then once I became an entrepreneur, the joy was very much consistent. When I do work for people and they're like, "Oh my God, this was so good. You just helped me. You just saved me all this legal trouble. You just did." And I would just be so happy. And I'm like, I wish I could have been doing this from the beginning, you know? But it takes that journey to realize what really makes you happy. And then going into, because for some of us, most of us, we're going to be working our whole lives. You have to find some way to make the work you're doing enjoyable.
Facts, Brian. Um, for me on the work side, the 9 to 5, I enjoy majority of my team, especially my senior managers. They are just two amazing black women, and we're friends. Like we're family. Like those are my peeps. Like they're just amazing people. Alyssa J. Richardson, Angela Faison. I'm gonna say their names because that's how much they mean to me. That supported me in some when I was going through the fire. And you're 100% right, Brian. When you can think for yourself, when you know who you are, you become a threat. And Adam, you were saying sheep. I was like, I've never been a sheep. I always like, that don't make sense. Why would we do this? And the things that people think are complex are sound like 2 plus 2 to me. I'm like, you just do this, this, and this. Oh, that's not possible. I make the impossible possible all the time, and it's easy for me. I perfected those things, especially supporting students in special education. And like you want to move up. I wanted a seat at the table, and I think too often we say we want seats at the table and not realizing you don't want to be at that table. And so having my own business, like I created my own fucking table. Now I can welcome the people that I want to be at the table. They're the people that like living and loving and valuing people, the people that like killing, like those, like y'all are at my table. Y'all don't have to fight to be there. It's an invitation versus earning something. And I was just like, no, we all have worth. And so I'm done with that table things. On the other side, in the entrepreneur side, and I'm gonna say relational side, like I it's my girlfriend, Dominique. She don't like me calling her Dominique. Your mama named you Dominique. I'm gonna call you Dominique. Dominique Jackson. Like when you lose a job and your significant other is like they're lost, let's do this. It's something that I can't explain it, but it's just it means something. It's not even something. It means the world, and she supported me. Like not worried about money and things like that. It was just like she's like, babe, like they're too small. They're too small. Good, and let's do this. So y'all see, like y'all saw the easy equity, but she designed all that stuff. So like. She wants to stay in the background, but I want her to know and people to know like she's always forward in front of me in as far as my heart, because I wouldn't been able to get through all these trials and tribulations without her. And like when you're an entrepreneur and you want to live in creativity and all these other things, you for me, I say I needed somebody to love me unconditionally when I was doubting myself sometimes. And she poured into me all the right times in a way that was unapologetic. And she's just pretty much like, it's a matter of time before you blow because that's what I see in you. And that makes me doing having my own business like that's exciting for me because then our come up is just going to be unparalleled. And when we're multi-millionaires, I don't have to worry about if she's with me because of our money, because she was with me when I didn't have anything.
Okay. Michael, you tapped in on that one, sir. Yeah, okay. I love that. I love that vulnerability. Tangible resources, y'all. And I would like to put it in this way. I know a lot of folks, especially some of my clients, who will sidetrack in our conversations and are truly intrigued about being an entrepreneur. Right? They're like, can you tell me a little bit about like how you get your business and how you do it, right? They're truly intrigued, and I am one to cultivate that. I'm not one to shut that down. And I always say to people, my mom only knew the entrepreneur I was when I was 10. I'd be a millionaire by now. Like I'm telling you, I was creating shit back then that nobody else was creating, and she just wasn't seeing it. She was just too busy to see the shit, and maybe didn't recognize, what I was doing at the time, right? As an entrepreneur at a young age, right? Like part of that process, as I hear these questions and I hear these interests, right? We all know that it ain't for everybody, right? But if you had someone come to you and say, hey, I really want to be an entrepreneur, what advice are you giving that person, knowing that they've never done it before? They are fresh out the box, new to entrepreneurialism. What would be your advice, your take home advice for this person in any direction you want to put it? They just asking you the question, what do I do? How can I get into a business? How can I create my own thing?
Okay. I got two tips. Tip number one, um, marketing. So I feel like the best business advice, because I read a lot. So when I went into being an entrepreneur, I read this book. If I had time, I probably would have pulled it out and showed it. But it was this book called Decoded, which is about marketing psychology. It's called Decoded Why We Buy. And it explains why just people buy things in general and how people market products. And just learning about marketing, if you understand marketing, even at the most basic level, you'll understand how you want yourself to come across to people. Because even if you have the best service and product in the world, if you don't know how to market it, no one will ever know you exist. And it's getting into how do people know you exist? How do people know what you're about? How do you communicate that? You have to make marketing a priority in your business if you want to be an entrepreneur. And then, secondly, have a tight knit network because if you're, say, you want to demo something, you should be able to call five people to give you an hour of their time to demo whatever it is you want to demo. Whether it's you're pitching it or something, you need those five people who are going to sit there, listen, and be like, I like this, I didn't like that. And it will change everything for you.
I just wrote down that book, um, which goes into one of the things. You talked about marketing. I'm gonna talk about branding. How are you gonna set yourself up that's different? Um, and that should go towards your brand should be telling a story about who you are, what you're doing, and why it's going to serve other people. Which goes into my other tip would be, what are you passionate about? And does that end with that passion? What problem are you solving for? So now you know you have a value add. So similar to what Brian and I think Coach you said is too. If you're passionate about something, you're you're going to be able to put energy towards it, and that's good. So if you're trying to be an entrepreneur for the first time, you got to be passionate about something. And that passion has to solve a problem. It has to make somebody's life easier or take something away that somebody's struggling with. So those are the things I would do. Passion, what problem are you solving for, and branding.
All right. I'm gonna piggyback on both of y'all because what y'all both said is what I would say as well. But I will also say to create your fallback, and your fallback is your financial cushion. And if you're going to start it, I would recommend to have at least a year of a fallback. Because in a year, it's going to take you to grow, right? You're going to learn different things. If you can get a year, right? Right. I think the big part of it is creating yourself a cushion, because that cushion becomes your pay in so many ways when the contracts are not there. And it does trick the mind a little that you're actually getting paid. Because I enter it from one account to another, and I'm like, oh, it's there now. I even schedule send that damn thing. It is a little bit of trickology. And then I would say, and Brian said it earlier, and he said it way better than how I'm going to say it, but it's the balance of those things, right? When you can get into so much of that entrepreneur, you can fully dive in where every minute is like work time because you're trying to figure out what is work time. So, I'm like, balance that out. Don't overdo it to the point where your work is entering your sleep and you're waking up and you're like, oh, I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that. I think it's just so immersing you. Take it in when you can take it in. When you're in that moment and you're in that time slot, enjoy that time slot. When it's time to step away, you have to step away from it, even if it frustrates you. There's some videos, because I'm very particular about editing. There's some videos I gotta like literally step away from it. It's literally one word or someone with right? It's that little thing get me fixated because the beat don't drop on that same in the same way, right? And what I'll do is when I first started, I got mad frustrated. And I had to learn to step away from the shit because the way I look at it is when I'm pumping it out, I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing the individuals in the video as well. Right. So there's a level bar there. Cause when I want people to say our names, I don't want them to say it with shit on their tongue. Right. So, final thoughts before we wrap this up. Nothing in particular, but if there's any thoughts left you want to say.
The only thing I would also add, if you're a new entrepreneur, if you're not in the 9 to 5, you still can make your entrepreneurship 9 to 5. Got to have a schedule, you got to have a ritual, you got to have a routine. Like that's going to help you stay productive. You can't just do things when you feel like it. I know from 9 o'clock to like 11 o'clock, 11:30, my brain's working at high capacity. So that's the time I'm using creativity. That's not the time where I'm checking for leads and doing follow-up emails. When I'm bored, follow-up emails is from 1 to 3. So just having that ritual routine, and I work out every single morning so I can pour it into my body so I can get my body fresh so my mind can be fresh so I can do what I need to do. So have a ritual routine. You have unlimited freedom, but structure your freedom.
Yeah. And my entrepreneur tip, I'd say what last things to end on would probably be you can't do it yourself. You know, you may be an entrepreneur, the LLC may say sole proprietorship, but you cannot do it yourself. Um, Even with both with my firm and with my clothing brand, I had help. Whether it was, people helping me a little bit here or a little bit there. It might not always be money, but someone stepping it up, a photographer helping me out. I've been a lot of people's charity case, and I'm fine with that. Okay, I need the charity. I am not too proud. A big example was for my clothing brand. A big part of the clothing is for the clothes to be presented well. So I actually needed a photographer to take product photos, high quality product photos. And one of my friends, they did it for like $400, and usually that stuff is like $2,000, $3,000. They did it for me for 400. And I could not be happier. They like, I love to help a black business and this and this. And I was like, yes, I am a poor black business. Help me. So yeah, you can't do it by yourself.
Growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself quietly, trusting the work and carrying the lessons forward. As you close this year, don't just ask what you accomplished. Ask who you became and what you're ready to build next. This is Heal Talk. Keep healing and always keep growing. Who's helping you heal?